Idaho just crossed 2 million residents. 30,000 people moved to Idaho last year, and 80% of them came from other states. But right now, a lot of those same people are quietly packing up U-Hauls and leaving. But why? I've lived in this valley my entire life. I've watched this market change with my own eyes. People are moving here, chasing the small town feel they saw on the internet. But what real estate agents aren't telling them is that the internet doesn't show you the whole picture. Let's start with the culture. When I was a kid, riding my bike through the North End without my parents, strangers waved. Neighbors looked out for you. That part of Idaho is still very real. If you drop your groceries in the Winco parking lot, 3 people are going to stop and help you pick them up. But here's the gotcha. People mistake friendly for soft. Idahoans are genuinely nice, but we are incredibly direct. We don't really do passive-aggressive. If you ask a question, you'll get the truth without the fluff. This is a conservative, small government state at its core. The philosophy here is simple. If your choices aren't hurting anyone else, the government should stay out of it, and you are expected to handle your own business. I had a client from Los Angeles last year who was absolutely shocked. We walked into a coffee shop in Eagle, and the guy in front of us was standing in line, openly carrying a firearm on his hip. She physically froze. I had to explain to her that he was not a threat. He was just a local grabbing his morning roast. Idaho is an open carry state, and you will see that in practice every single day. Walking through Costco on a Saturday, picking up milk at Winco, getting gas, or just running errands, you are going to see people carrying holstered weapons. That is just a regular Tuesday here. We fiercely love the Second Amendment, and if seeing a firearm in public is something that is going to make you fundamentally uncomfortable, this is a reality you need to think about very seriously before you pack a single box to move here. I grew up around guns. My dad is a geologist and a hunter. We spent our weekends in the high desert, and firearms were just a part of the landscape. My husband and I carry on that tradition with our 3 boys. Responsible ownership isn't just common here, it's expected. And let me give you a quick reality check on the numbers, because this is the nuance that always gets lost in the national headlines. Idaho ranks as one of the top states in the entire nation for gun ownership. Roughly 60% of adults here report having firearms in the home. And honestly, if you get out of downtown Boise, that number is significantly higher. If you walk down any residential street in the Treasure Valley, you knock on 10 doors, the odds are incredibly strong that at least half of those households don't just own a gun, they own multiple firearms. But here is the part nobody expects. Despite having that massive rate of gun ownership, Idaho has one of the lowest gun homicide rates in America. Idaho has a statistically low violent crime rate. In 2024, our firearm homicide rate was sitting right around 1.2 per 100,000 people. That is drastically lower than our neighboring Washington state, which has far stricter gun laws. A researcher at the University of Illinois Springfield actually studied our numbers and called it an interesting paradox worth examining. To us, it isn't a paradox. It's a culture of respect, training, and responsibility. If you move here and expect that political and social climate to bend to what you're used to back on the coast, you're going to be miserable. And then there's the transplant tension. You are going to see the bumper stickers. You're going to see signs from people that aren't thrilled about the growth. That happens in every state that blows up overnight. But the irony is, some of the loudest voices telling you we're full just unpacked their own U-Hauls a couple of years ago. My advice is simple. Don't be the person who moves here and complains that it isn't like the place you left. Now let's talk about the thing nobody in real estate wants to put on camera: politics. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Idaho is deeply conservative. In the 2024 election, Trump won this state by over 30 points. Even Ada County, which people used to call the blue bubble of Boise, went red by double digits. The only blue county left is Teton. You are going to see flags, and you are going to hear strong opinions. If you're moving here specifically looking for a conservative environment, you are going to find it, especially in cities like Meridian, Eagle, Star, and Kuna. Boise proper has trended slightly more progressive recently, but the massive growth in the surrounding communities keeps Ada County firmly conservative overall. But on the flip side, if you lean left and you're expecting the state to gradually shift to match your politics as it grows, you'll find the political landscape here is a significant adjustment from the coast. You need to go into this with your eyes wide open. You are going to see the flags, the conservative bumper stickers, and the unapologetic support for the Second Amendment everywhere you go. That is just the everyday reality. I watched families from both ends of the political spectrum move here, fight the culture for 2 years because it wasn't exactly what they expected, and ultimately pack up and leave. Because at the end of the day, our politics reflect our belief in small government. People here are fiercely proud of that independence. The general philosophy is that if your choices aren't hurting anyone else, the government needs to stay out of your backyard. We prioritize local, county-level decision-making over sweeping statewide mandates. It's a drastically different approach to everyday life than the heavily regulated systems you'll find in California, Oregon, or Washington. And for a lot of the families I help relocate, that level of freedom is the entire point of the move. But freedom means you are on your own for a lot of things. My advice is simple. Do your political homework now. Understand what a true small government reality looks like for your family before you start packing your boxes. Let's talk about the thing everyone complains about: the commute. You look at a map on Zillow and you think, Star to downtown Boise? That's like 25 minutes. And on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., you'd be right. Do not trust that number. I've lived the Eagle Road commute my entire adult life. At 5 p.m. on a Thursday, that 25 minutes turns into 50. You will be sitting on Eagle Road, watching the same traffic light cycle 3 times, hitting your brakes and wondering what happened to the quiet life you were promised. One of the biggest traps out-of-state buyers fall into is looking at a map and assuming they understand the commute. I recently had a family relocating from Portland who had their hearts set on a massive, gorgeous home out in Middleton. The price per square foot was incredible, and to them, a 25-mile drive sounded like absolutely nothing. But as your boots on the ground here in the Treasure Valley, it's my job to tell you the hard truths. I sat them down, broke down the brutal reality of our rush hour commute times. I explained exactly what that specific drive into Boise during peak traffic would do to their quality of life and their family time. They decided the house was worth it and bought it anyway. 6 months later, the husband called me, completely exhausted, spending 2 hours a day stuck in his truck. My goal isn't to sell you a house, it's to make sure you know exactly what your day-to-day life will look like before you sign on the dotted line. This is what I call the expectation gap. So the commute is real. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is no secret back road that magically fixes a 30-mile drive from Middleton to Boise in rush hour. The way you solve the commute isn't with a shortcut. It's buying in the right place to begin with. You have to map your zip code to your lifestyle before you ever make an offer. That is the kind of reality check I give my clients. Because once you're stuck in the gridlock, it's too late. Real quick, before we keep going, I'm throwing a lot of warnings at you today, from the traffic bottlenecks to the inversion zones and everything in between. If you want to see exactly where these problem areas are on a map, I built something called the Treasure Valley Red Zone Map. It shows you exactly where these issues are, so you don't buy a house in the wrong spot blind. The link is in the description and you can grab it for free. Okay, so let's get back to it. So that's the reality. Now let me tell you why I care enough to make this video. I love this city. Some of my best memories are standing on Capitol Boulevard, catching candy at the Old Boise River Festival Parade, or sitting in the MK Nature Center dissecting owl pellets to find tiny mouse skulls. I grew up riding my bike all over the valley until the streetlights came on, and I want my 3 boys to experience that exact same sense of freedom. But the Treasure Valley is changing, and I watch families move here completely blind, burn through their savings, realize it's not what they thought, and leave. I simply won't let you do that. I'd rather hurt your feelings in a YouTube video today than watch you waste $400,000 and leave in 2 years. Now let's get into the details. This is the part where we get specific. We're going to talk about the money. This is the big one, and honestly, it's a thing that catches almost everyone off guard. A lot of folks moving to Idaho assume they're going to cross the state line and immediately find rock bottom housing prices. And if you are comparing Boise to the Bay Area, Seattle, or Portland, yes, your dollar goes much further here. You can sell a tiny bungalow on the coast and buy a beautiful family home here. But let me be very clear, Idaho is not the bargain it was 5 or 10 years ago. Those days are gone. Let me give you the actual math. The median home price in Ada County right now is hovering around $535,000. In Eagle, the median just crossed $1 million. If you want affordability, you are looking out in Canyon County, in Nampa, Caldwell, where it's closer to $430,000. Yes, if you're selling a tiny bungalow in California, you can come here and buy a beautiful home for the same price. But you have to factor in local wages. We call it the sunshine tax. The median household income here is only about $75,000. It takes roughly 7 years of the median local income to afford the median priced home. That gap, that's what breaks people who move here without a solid plan. And do not wait around expecting mortgage rates to magically drop back to 3%. They are sitting in the high 5s, and that is our reality now. But here is the good news. The frenzy is over. We aren't seeing 20 cash offers on a Tuesday anymore. Houses are sitting for around 40 days. Sellers are actually negotiating again and offering concessions. You just have to be strategic. And while we are talking about neighborhoods, let's address the elephant in the room, HOAs. I get calls constantly from buyers saying, Rachel, I want a nice house in Meridian, but absolutely no HOA. Well, here's the reality check. If you are buying in a subdivision in Ada or Canyon County built in the last 20 years, there is a very good chance it comes with an HOA. People hate hearing that. Nobody loves being told what they can and can't do with their own property. But here is the flip side. The HOAs here are generally focused on maintaining your property value, not micromanaging your life. They just want to make sure you keep your yard maintained and you don't paint your house neon green. And when you drive through an older, unrestricted neighborhood and see someone with 6 broken down cars parked on their front lawn next to a makeshift junk pile, you'll suddenly understand why we have them. When it comes time to sell, homes in well-managed HOAs consistently perform better. Now, if an HOA just isn't your style, we definitely have options, particularly out in parts of Canyon County. We'll just want to walk through the pros and cons so you know exactly what to expect in a non-HOA neighborhood. And then there are the taxes. Let me give you the good news and the bad news. because this is where a lot of people get completely blindsided. On the positive side, Idaho has actually cut income taxes 5 times in the last 5 years. We are now down to a flat 5.3% rate. I showed a house to a couple from Oregon recently, and they loved that number. They also loved that our property taxes are incredibly low. The median effective rate is right around 0.43%. But when I told them that Idaho charges a full 6% sales tax on groceries, they were caught off guard. Because Oregon doesn't have a sales tax, it hadn't even crossed their minds to account for it. Every single time you walk into Albertsons or Winco to buy a gallon of milk or a carton of eggs, you are paying tax on it. I have 3 boys, so I know exactly what a weekly grocery haul looks like here. When you are feeding a family of 5, that 6% penalty at the checkout counter adds up to thousands of dollars a year that you completely forgot to put in your budget. It's the ultimate hidden cost, and the tax shock goes the other direction too. If you are moving here from a state like Texas, Florida, or Alaska, places with 0 state income tax, that 5.3% is going to sting. I've had clients from Austin who were thrilled about our home prices, but when they realized they'd be giving up over 5% of their paycheck just to live here, it completely changed what they could afford. The reality is that Idaho's tax picture is moderate. My advice, do not guess on this. Before you start packing boxes, sit down with a good CPA and run your specific numbers. Compare your total tax burden in your current state versus Idaho. It is the smartest thing you can do before making this move. Speaking of expectations, let's talk about rural living. A lot of folks call me and say, Rachel, we want to get out of the city. We want 5 acres and 0 rules. I totally understand the desire to spread out. My husband and I live on an acre and camp all the time for that exact reason. We value our space. But here is the reality check. I have to give my relocation clients moving to Idaho doesn't mean you leave all the rules behind. People confuse our politics with a total free-for-all. Idaho is a small government state, but it is not a no government state. Some people move here with this image of Idaho as the Wild West, where you can do anything you want on your property with 0 oversight. That's not accurate. You are still subject to local zoning, building codes, and land management requirements. Idaho values personal freedom, but that freedom comes with a massive expectation of personal responsibility. Your right to do what you want on your land ends the exact second your choices start affecting your neighbors. That's not big government. That's just being a good neighbor. And by the way, when you buy out in the country, your cell service is likely gone. You are off the grid, whether you plan to be or not. That is exactly why I tell every single client buying rural property to order Starlink before they even close on the house. I refuse to let you move in and suddenly realize you can't send a basic email. We solve that problem before it ever happens. Now, let's talk about the weather, specifically the winters. If you are moving here from a milder climate like California or Texas, let me be very clear. Idaho's weather is going to test you at least once. We have 4 distinct seasons here, and they do not mess around. The summers are gorgeous, warm, sunny, and that dry heat with low humidity, that makes floating the Boise River absolutely perfect. But winters are real. Now, down here in the southern part of the state, the Treasure Valley and the Boise area, winters are actually relatively mild by Idaho standards. Average temperatures run in the 30s and 40s, and we usually only get a handful of real snow events each year. It's usually enough to give you a beautiful white Christmas and get the kids up to Bogus Basin for some skiing, but not so much that you're going to be out in your driveway shoveling snow for 3 months straight. Up north, in places like Coeur d'Alene or Sandpoint, it is a completely different story. You are looking at colder temperatures, often hovering in the 20s, and significantly more snow. If you love winter sports, it's an absolute paradise. If you don't, it is going to be a very long, very cold few months. But regardless of where you live in the state, expect single-digit temperatures at least once or twice every winter. In some areas, you will see below zero. The cold will bite right through you. Layering up is not a fashion choice here. It is non-negotiable. And then there are the inversions. If you're not familiar, an inversion is when cold air gets trapped at ground level under a layer of warmer air that sits on top of it like a heavy lid. It happens in valleys surrounded by mountains, which describes basically most of Boise. The result is gray, cold, completely still days where the pollution, the fireplace smoke, and the fog just sit here. In the Treasure Valley, we usually get a few of these every winter, typically lasting a week or two at a time. Now, it isn't forever, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this. When you are in the middle of one, it feels incredibly dreary, especially if you moved here expecting blue skies year-round. But here's the native secret. You just drive up. If you load the kids in the car and drive 45 minutes up the mountain to Bogus Basin, you literally break through the cold layer. Suddenly, it's 45 degrees, the sun is blindingly bright, and you're looking down at a thick sea of gray clouds covering the entire valley. It's beautiful. All right, you've got the full picture. You've seen where the traffic is, you've seen where the noise is, and you know exactly where those nature risks are sitting. For about 40% of you, everything I just showed you is a deal breaker. And honestly, that's okay. I'd rather you know that now than after you've signed a closing disclosure. But for the other 60%, Idaho is still the paradise you think it is. You just have to know how to navigate. So do me a favor, if you're serious about moving here, don't just guess. I've put everything we talked about today into my Treasure Valley Red Zone map. It's a literal map of the gotchas that most agents aren't going to mention. And it's free. The link is in the description. Grab it, print it out, and keep it next to your computer when you're scrolling Zillow. I update it every month because the market here doesn't sit still, and neither do I. If you want me to personally walk you through these zones for your specific situation, there's a link to my calendar right next to that map. I'm Rachel, helping you live your best life in Idaho, and I'll see you in the next one.